I was recently laid off. CRE Finance. Advice on how to proceed career wise from here.
CRE sounds like commercial real estate finance. So if you're in the real estate industry, I would say for at least probably the next year, year and a half, as far as like refinances and stuff. I mean, commercial real estate, it's like that business is not going to pick up until the Fed starts lowering interest rates. And so everybody that I know that's in real estate or the mortgage business has seen their business plummet. I was talking to a guy a few months ago. He was a big mortgage broker, and he was doing like I think he said 130, 140 million. What was it? A month, I think it was, or a year in loan origination at the height. And now he's barely doing like 20 million a month in loans. I mean, he's
It's
doing big
crazy.
loans, but he's getting a small percentage.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a huge. I mean, he's got a fraction of the business that he used to have. And so, what typically happens is that people get laid off, they get let go because they just don't have the business, they don't have the customers, and that's not going to change until the interest rates start dropping. And so, he's going to have to do something to.
Do you think he should stay in real estate or go into like pivot to another industry?
Well, if he's a finance guy, it's what other types of industries are maybe you finance
Yeah, there's
yachts. I
tons of
mean, people with
financing.
money are always, buying and
Yeah.
selling things. So if he's doing a big ticket, commercial real estate, especially that's the other thing is like commercial real estate. I think, they usually amortize over 15-year terms, but depending on the loan, you have to refinance it every 3 to 5 years. And so when people originated all those things a couple of years ago, you had real low interest rates. And now, interest rates were like around 3%. And now they're 7, 8%. And so the cost to borrow money is extremely expensive. And unless people absolutely have to do it, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Or the numbers, the monthly payment has to work. And so when you get a really big monthly payment, that what happens is like example of somebody buying a restaurant wanting to, get all new kitchen equipment or expand their kitchen. The cost to finance that equipment, the payment is so much higher now than it would have been 2 years ago that when they look at their monthly cash flow, the numbers don't work. And so what happens is that restaurant then doesn't buy that equipment. And then the restaurant equipment supplier doesn't get the order.
Yeah.
He doesn't order it from the manufacturers that make the stuff. And so that business just never happened. And so the people that would have worked and had been the capacity to make that happen, they're not getting the jobs. They're
Yeah.
not getting the revenue from it. And so you got to find something that you can do.
And the restaurant also suffers too without getting the news. So
Yeah.
hurts everybody.
Yeah. And plus the restaurant business is going to be down. Like everybody I talk to, it's in the restaurant business. Like, man, it's been so slow. And obviously you see places closing up. It's just in the last week, there's a couple restaurants on the street where I live that they've gone out of business. And like one of them in particular, they spent millions of dollars building this place out just 3 years ago, and they just closed it all up. I mean, it's a big chain, but I mean, between the build out and then however much money they were losing on a monthly basis before they decided to tap out, they're going to probably have to work out something with the landlord because they probably had a multi-year lease. And so all that stuff has to be worked out, and that's a big, big loss. So
Yeah.
there's got to be some kind of maybe doing yacht sales or something. People that got money and can afford a payment, they're still going to be borrowing even at the higher rate. So you'd have to go into some industry where, probably you're doing a big loan product. See, because obviously you're going to make a percentage of whatever the loan is, and it makes sense to do a bigger loan versus a smaller loan. So maybe something like that, maybe something like yacht sales, because any like high end stuff, super wealthy people they're still buying and selling things. They typically aren't using as much financing, but if you're determined to stay in the finance business, then you're going to have to find something, maybe a big ticket type of item that people are still financing, and do something along those lines. But as soon as the rates start coming down, then all those people that have been holding off refinancing or buying will start. But the damage has been done. What you see is like Capital One and who was it? Discover. Their charge off rate is about 6%, and the last time their charge off rates were that high was 2008. And everybody I assume remembers what happened in September 2008, which was Lehman Brothers, and like then the whole market melted down. after that. And then you had a long period, like when Obama was president, there wasn't much happening because the money supply wasn't contracting. Even though they had lowered the rates, the damage had been done. All those people have been bankrupted. And so what's happened is people are spending all this money and they're maxing out their credit cards just to live off of. And then they can't afford the monthly payment. And then what happens? They walk away from it. And so you're seeing the delinquency rates skyrocket, and that repos and cars is going up, foreclosures are going up, everything is going up because people can't afford to make their payments anymore. And so this is a long 12, 15-year cycle that happens. It's like the last time it happened like this, we had interest rate increases start in, was it January of 2022? If you go back to the last time that happened where the same market conditions were there, it was about September 2004 when they started raising interest rates. And they stopped around September 2006. And then 2007, the market was continuing to slow. In 2008 is when Lehman Brothers blew up. And then all the best foreclosure deals, because it takes time for those things to work their way through the pipeline, all those things, like if you were looking like when was the best time to buy real estate, where you got the best deals, it was about 2009 to 2012. That was about a 3-year period. And especially like 2011, 2012, like nobody wanted to buy anything.
Yeah.
And that's when you want to buy, when there's blood in the streets, so to speak.
Who said that? It was
I was probably maybe one of the original Rockefellers. I can't remember who it was. But it's the same thing with stocks. When everybody's buying, like whether it's crypto or stocks, that's when you want to be selling and taking your profits. And then when nobody's buying, when the market's in the shitter and things are going real bad, the economy's bad, and unemployment is real high, and nobody wants those properties, that's when you're going to get the best deal.
It was Baron Rothschild who said
the original. He was the guy that came up with fractional reserve banking, basically. So that was probably in the 1700s, I think.
Yep.
Was when he lived.
18th century.
Yeah. So that's the best thing you can hope for, because this is going to take years. All these people that are maxed out, the restaurants closing. You look at all the tech companies are laying people off, and tech jobs had been a real safe job. It's like Amazon. I think they've laid off something like 25,000 people this year so far. And that's because the money supply is contracting. So it's across the economy. Everything, the money supply shrinks. When you got people that really shouldn't be there, they're not doing a good job, that they get let go. Like all these DEI people are getting fired because they don't really produce anything that adds to the bottom line. And when the company's losing money, it's like those are the first people that all lose their jobs. Because they're not really bringing business in. They're just expense.
Yeah, I don't know how much a business taking a little seminar on your pronouns is going to help the bottom line.
Yeah, so those people all get fired and they lose their job. And then so you see that, and like people are, it's like if you look at like the Indeed job postings, that's just been steadily going down since January 2022. And so the Fed has noticed that the job postings are, and so they're at the level that they were like in 2019, I think. And so it's continuing to go down, and that's just, the jobs aren't being posted because the companies don't need the people. They don't have the business, or they don't have the excess business to continue hiring. So I'm, from an investing standpoint, I'm stoked. I'm stacking as much cash as I can, because in about 2-3 years, there's going to be a lot of great deals in real estate, because these people they're going to lose their houses. And even the higher end real estate is going to be affected, because all those people that make a lot of money, their businesses are going to be impacted. And so they're not going to be buying super expensive houses like they are now in 2 to 3 years when the economy has really taken a hit. And unfortunately for Trump, he's going to come in when all that shit is just starting to hit. He'll be kind of coming into office, kind of like Obama was when things had just blown up.
Yeah. And
what he will do will help drive the cost of oil down, like he did when he first got in, because that's a big thing that's hamstrung Biden is his environmental policies. Is he's driven the cost of fuel up. That makes everything expensive because everything runs on oil.
Yeah.
Everything you buy, everything that's made, everything runs on gas, oil, diesel, kerosene for jet fuel. And when the cost of that stuff goes up, it gets passed on to the consumer. So if you can get the cost of oil to drop significantly, like I'm sure Trump will do, that will really help alleviate inflation, because it'll make everything cheaper. And then the business owners will pass that on to their customers, and that'll help the economy grow. But
yeah,
the problem is you got millions of people who are getting destroyed financially. They were maxed out, and now that the economy's gone the other way, they can't pay their credit cards. They're letting their car loans go. The car repossessions are up, and that just will continue to happen. So in the timeline, we're basically in like 2006 heading into 2007. And so 2007 things just continued to slow down. And so, we're seeing bank failures because a lot of the smaller banks took on all that commercial debt on all those office buildings that are like half empty now, because when the lockdowns happen, the corporations realize, wow, we don't need all this big office space. We can shrink our office, maybe have half the office space and let people work from home, and it'll save us all the money. And so the problem with the landlords that own all these properties is they finance all this stuff at the really cheap interest rates. And now their buildings are half full. And so trying to refinance a property where they're already negative cash flow and the bank's going to want, in essence, double what they were originally financed, the numbers don't work. So they're giving the properties back to the bank, and that makes small banks insolvent. So that's coming down the pipe. So, but like I said, 2, 3 years, 4 years. So for like about 3 years from now, I would say for the next, 3 years out, and then probably 2, 3 years after that, that'll be the best time to buy a piece of real estate. And but they will lower rates, and so you'll get a lot of refis and stuff. But the purchases will be slow to come, because all those people that lost their house, they're going through bankruptcy, they're going through foreclosure, their credit is destroyed. They're not going to be able to finance anything for a couple of years. So even though they'll drop the interest rates, it's not going to be an immediate fix to the slow economy. And I wouldn't expect to see the economy pick up till probably, and be doing really well until around Trump's last year in office, assuming that he gets elected and they don't steal the election from him.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to be this guy, to be honest with you. I'm glad I'm not in real estate or the mortgage business anymore. I'm excited about the opportunity, so he's going to have to figure out where he can go and what kind of loans are still being originated, especially a higher price point. Maybe it's financing yachts, maybe it's commercial finance. I don't know. He was in commercial real estate, and that's just like nothing's happening in that. A lot of people are walking away from their leases and stuff. I saw a building that I think it was in San Francisco. The original landlord sold it, I was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was something like, I think just under 300 million, 280 million, I think it was. And he put 21 million into the building to renovate and make it nicer. So you got over 300 million bucks in this. And the bank worked out a deal with the original owner, and he assumed like, I think, a $70 million loan. So we got like the whole property for like 80 million after he'd sold it for 300.
That's crazy.
So he got all that cash. Now he's got the building back, and he's only got like a $80 million loan on it. And so it's like 45 or 44% full. Now he can drop the rental rates, and now he can undercut everybody he's competing against and fill his building up, because the numbers will work.
Yeah.
I mean, you just destroyed like a couple $100 million and wrote off a couple $100 million in debt for that deal. So the bank gets crushed. They have to take that loss against their bottom line. So those kinds of things are happening more and more frequently, because you got all this excess office space and nobody wants to rent it.